Diyos. Maraming salamat po sa buhay at lakas na aming taglay, sa liwanag ng kaisipan at sa pagkakataong maipagpatuloy ang pag-aaral ng mga kabataan. Gabayan mo po ang bawat isa sa amin. Anuman ang bahagi na aming gagampanan, naway maging maayos at matagumpay ang pagtuturo at pag-aaral na aming gagawin sa araw na ito. Patawarin mo po kami sa aming mga pagkukulang at pagkakasala. At sa aming paggawa, ikaw po ang aming makasama. Amen.
Seeing an aquarium gives you a perfect picture of relationship between a living and a non-living organisms. Somehow, it is also a relaxing picture of crystal clear water, beautiful rocks, and different color of fish. Somehow, the aquarium can also give you an idea, or somehow you can remember the previous lesson that you had before. And to remind you the previous lesson, we're simply review the biotic and abiotic factors. We simply mean that we're going to review the living and the non-living organisms. As we go on to this review, I'm going to give you some tips on answering this review. I'm going to show a piece of puzzle and then a clue of it, and then you can have your way down to your answer. I can have another picture and another clue and another picture and another clue. And then you can have your answer on the comment box. It seems that you have the right answer on your comment box. Yes, you made it right. They are mangroves. The next puzzle is this. It is seen in the sky. It gives us heat. It is an abiotic factor. Okay. I know you are typing your answer on the comment box. Yes, it's the sun. Another piece of puzzle, we have this piece of picture. It lives at the beach. It is a delicious seafood. It is a biotic factor. Yes, it is so simple. It is a crab. Let us move on. Oh, it seems so familiar. It is also found in the beach. You can build castle through it. And it is an abiotic factor. Who has the faster finger on the comment box? The answer is yes. It is a sun or a handful of sand. Lastly, we have this piece of puzzle. It is felt by the skin, and this time, it cannot be seen by the eye. It blows gently or strongly, and it is an abiotic factor. What is the correct answer, class? Yes, it's the wind. All right, I hope you enjoyed this puzzle form review of the previous lesson. I believe that some of you have visited a water park. In the water park, you enjoy the cold water And once you are on top of the slide, you join yourself with the winding slide and the cold water, and you have your way down to the pool. Splash, and there you have fun. Okay? I know you miss so much the water these days, let's say in a form of beach or in some water parks you've known. But when you have a bird's view of a water park, you can see its slides. Some are winding down on a single pool, and although they are not interconnected, they are moving, or the water in the slides are moving in one direction. Similarly, we have a body of water that is closely resemble to the water park. And that is what we call an estuary. Okay. In this morning class, we're going to set an objective for the word that I mentioned earlier. It is the estuary. Later on, I'm going to show a picture of an estuary. But for now, our objective is I want you to describe estuaries and intertidal zones. Okay, this is an example of an estuary from other country. You can observe that there are some rivers that are being connected by rivers, and the water from these rivers have single way to the mouth of the sea. So therefore, we can best describe estuary as a body of water where the end of a river meets the sea. Right? This is our first description. Now, what happens to the water that comes from different rivers? Now, this is the fresh water from the river, and this is the sea water. What will happen if they combine? The answer is the combination of the fresh water from river and the salt water from the sea is a brackish water, which is the mixture of fresh water and seawater. All right. So our next description of estuary, estuary has a brackish water or a combination of salt water and fresh water. Another. What can we see if we go down to an estuary? We can expect different living organisms such as seals, ducks, some migratory birds, corals, or some starfish, and different kinds of plants such as mangroves, herbs, and tall grasses. Truly, an estuary is a home for different living organisms and as well as non-living organisms. So our next description of an estuary is it is a home of marine plants and animals. It is also serves as the breeding ground for different living organisms. So we can expect that an estuary is a place for different living creatures to reproduce and propagate themselves around the estuary. Now, I assume that you have your ball pen and your notebook. And in this short activity, as we proceed to this video, I want you to describe the living and non-living organisms. in this estuary. All right, I know you have written a lot on your notebook, and I'm also hoping that you have described some living organisms and non-living organisms from the video. Now, do we have our own estuaries in our country? Yes, we do have. In Pasig, we have an estuary which is somewhat populated or habitable by humans. Okay. This region within the circle is the estuary along the Pasig River. Another from the Queen City of the South, we have this estuary. Okay. And this enclosed picture in the circle is the estuary. And from the durian capital of the country, Davao City, we have this estuary. Okay, so we can expect different estuaries in the Philippines. Now, what if we go down in an estuary? What will you find out? How is the experience of having a close contact with the organisms around? When you go down to an estuary, you are now in an area in which we call the intertidal zone. It is the area above water level at low tide and underwater at high tide. So you can expect that the intertidal zone experiences high tide and low tide. Now, let us have a close picture of an intertidal zone. So I'm going to draw a line, and this line is the water level in this zone. And we call this zone as the mid-intertidal zone. So we can expect that this level is the same all year round, but since an intertidal zone experiences high tide and low tides, we can expect that above the mid-intertidal zone has the high intertidal zone or a level of high tide at this area. And below the mid-intertidal zone, which we call low intertidal zone, is the zone where the low tide occurs. Now, what about the other level above the high intertidal zone? This is the splash zone, which is continuously stricken by the waves. So the climate in the splash zone is harsh as well. Another zone is the subtidal zone, which is constantly submerged with water. All right. We can expect different living organisms that live along the intertidal zone. So we can best describe intertidal zone in this way. marine organisms learn to adapt at the harsh environment within the intertidal zone. Okay, I am expecting you to have your pen and notebook with you again, and I'd like you to describe the living and the non-living organisms within this video of intertidal zone. All right. Who could believe that there are some living organisms that can be found along the stretch of an intertidal zone? But there you saw some starfish, um, different marine plants, and some organisms that are not familiar with us. Okay? And still, we can still find life within the intertidal zone. So we have described an estuary and intertidal zone in this lesson. I hope you have also your own description of these two terms or words, the estuary and intertidal zone. Let's have a short review of the main concept that we have enumerated. So, an estuary, it is a body of water where the end of a river meets the sea. It also provides shelters for different animals, and it serves as a nursery areas for different marine organisms. And for the intertidal zone, it is the area above water that experiences rising and falling tides. All right. So for our short assessment for this morning, on your paper, I want you to write the correct letter from questions in this 5-letter short quiz. Okay? And up to in this point, I'm going to give you enough time to answer them. So without a timer, I'm going to give you enough time for this. All right. I now give you the correct answers for this short quiz. For number one, which of the following describes an estuary? The correct answer is letter D. It is an area where river meets the sea and where mixing of fresh water and salt water happens. The correct answer for number one is letter B. Number two, why are estuaries important to our environment? The correct answer is letter D. Because estuaries help filter pollutants in the water, from letter A, provide homes for many species of wildlife, from letter B, and important nursery areas for a variety of marine organisms. The correct answer for number two is letter B. Number three, what kind of habitat is found on the seashore where the tide goes in and out? The correct answer is letter C, intertidal zone. Number four, which of the following describes the splash zone? Okay, the correct answer is letter A. It is located above the high tide mark. The correct answer for number four is letter A. And for the last number, what are the benefits of the estuaries and intertidal zones to humans? Letters from A to C best enumerate these benefits. They are a good source of water, they provide food and shelter for different animals, and they filter harmful waste materials before they move into seas. So the correct answer for number 5 is letter D, or all of the above. I commend those students that got correct responses or answers for this short quiz. I have some notes to parents before we finally end up this streaming lesson. So for the parents, number one, you are advised to guide your child to accomplish related activities found in learning module. Secondly, feel free to ask your child's teacher regarding the follow-up activities. And lastly, whenever possible, share these instructions to fellow learners who could not attend the live streaming or online classes. I am expecting our loving parents to join their child or learners to fully accomplish the learning modules that are being provided by their teachers. And in this streaming lesson, let me give credit for the photos and videos that I have used, and I have enumerated them on this slide. Again, this is your live streaming teacher in science, Christian M. Soriano from Perpetua R. San Diego Elementary School. Laging tatandaan, ano man ang sitwasyon, tuloy ang edukasyon. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.